Hey, it's Alexander Creek, astrologer and intuitive. Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking all about the astrology of the very potent solar eclipse in Libra on October 2nd. And of course, we'll be doing a little mini reading slash check-in for your rising sign. So make sure that if you like what you're seeing, if you are new here, to subscribe, to like, and turn on notifications so you don't miss an update. So, and also remember, as always, I'm a professional astrologer. If you're wanting an in-depth chart reading for yourself or a mini reading, head over to my website, dogstaroracle.com. That's DOG, staroracle.com. And you can also find my Instagram and TikTok under the same handle. So, let's do a little check-in, shall we? So we are coming off the lunar eclipse in Pisces, which happened on September 17th. And it's interesting being in the middle of two eclipses. And I forget how this feels like every time because eclipse season is always such a strange time. And this year, especially because we're in the middle of two very different eclipse series. And if you recall, eclipses in astrology can point to beginnings and endings, and sometimes they're really significant. It depends how it hits your chart. Obviously, not every eclipse is going to be a huge deal, but sometimes it is, right? Eclipses will kind of bounce around these pair of houses or life areas in your birth chart. So because we've mostly been having eclipses since 2023 in Libra and Aries, it's really been making the houses in your birth chart that contain Libra and Aries, they've really been emphasized. A lot of stuff around, again, beginnings, endings, changes, and really kind of illuminating things in these parts of your chart. For me, for example, Libra and Aries kind of fall in a kind of a unique area of the chart where, for me, Aries is my sixth house of work, health, work routines, how I take care of physical body, doing the stuff that I don't want to be doing, but that we have to be doing to live like a healthy life. And also house, which is like hidden things, mental and spiritual health, more internal kind of energies. And I've definitely noticed I've been taking care of my body more differently since 2023. I've gotten a lot better shape. Ongoing kind of dramas at work and where I want to be putting my energy and all this kind of stuff, right? So for you, it depending on your rising sign, it's going to be falling in a different part of your chart. And again, it might be really significant for you. It may also not be that big of a deal. Again, it really depends on your birth chart. However, the reason why I'm bringing up this Pisces one is because this Virgo Pisces eclipses are going to start are going to be like the main kind of focus of the eclipses going into 2025. And that's going to be, so it's almost like that lunar eclipse in Pisces that we had is pointing to a larger story that is coming into fruition, essentially. So you may have gotten previews of something that's like sort of yet to come, or had some events play out, or, some things kind of that might be just sort of trickling into your awareness about things that will play out in a more dramatic fashion in 2025. So it's like we're being in the middle of these two storylines where this Pisces one, it's sort of about something that's sort of, it's almost like something maybe in the future that is sort of yet to arrive. And we kind of have this preview. And eclipse time just feels like the strange kind of liminal space where we really have to surrender, we really have to let go and just kind of float through it, because I often find that almost like our sense of time and our sense of our sense of time and various cycles just feel a little different during eclipse time. This is the last solar eclipse in Libra that we're going to have for a very long time, I believe like 9 years or so. And this is also the last eclipse that we are going to have in Libra/Aries, while the North and South node are here as well. So in a sense, this eclipse is acting like a bit of a finale to this particular eclipse storyline. We have one more solar eclipse in Aries next year. However, the nodes will be in Pisces and Virgo by then, and will be kind of more firmly rooted into whatever that Pisces Virgo eclipse storyline is going to be. So we will talk about what the solar eclipse means for your particular sign. when I do that, you may want to reflect about how that particular area of your life has undergone changes and endings and beginnings since the nodes went into Aries and Libra in 2023. So this particular eclipse does put emphasis on the South Node. The South Node is currently in Libra, and the South Node it's the tail of a dragon. It tends to represent letting go, release, like detoxifying, a shedding of something. So because this is a solar eclipse, which is essentially a new moon, there may be a beginning. However, I do feel like the emphasis is going to be on endings, on clearing something out, on shedding something, possibly clearing something out so you can have some new beginnings or feel like a fresh energy in this particular area of life where Libra is, or where it is falling in your birth chart for you. But I do feel like there's going to be a potent, perhaps, frankly, eclipses can be quite dramatic sometimes. This potent, dramatic energy, I do feel like is going to be more focused on endings, on letting things go. And particularly with Libra, Libra is a sign that talks a lot about relationships. It's also about where we need to find balance in our lives as well. But Libra is a sign, one of the two signs that is ruled by Venus. Venus, the planet of connection, of relationships, of balance, of beauty. So this eclipse does put a focus on relationships and a very visceral, like gut level feeling of getting very real about which relationships fulfill you and feed you and which ones you may be ready to let go of, or how those relationship dynamics need to shift. I was talking with a friend about this the other day about quality of friendships versus quantity. And this eclipse really does emphasize that kind of lesson. And this is because Venus in Scorpio is sort of the guide or the ruler of this eclipse, because Venus is in Scorpio during this eclipse and Venus rules Libra. And whenever we have a new moon, a full moon, we always look to the planetary ruler governing that new moon for like that particular flavor of that energy. So again, solar eclipse in Libra. Venus is this planet of like relationships and beauty and all those things that I talked about. However, when she's in Scorpio, Venus prefers to be like light and create beauty. And Venus in Scorpio is about like getting very real. She's not like, let's only talk about beautiful and gentle things. This Venus in Scorpio is not on the surface. She is not lighthearted. She is driven by intense feelings and intuition. And you might be asking yourself around the time of this eclipse, and by the way, with eclipses especially, you tend to feel their energy coming a lot, like for more of a period of time than like a new moon or full moon. I tend to say like you tend to feel the effects of that eclipse for like a week and a half before to a week and a half after. And oftentimes the effects of an eclipse do tend to reverberate out for several weeks to months, because it's like there may be a significant beginning or ending that you don't even realize is super significant until months later when you're like, wow, that time of my life was actually quite pivotal, right? So keep that in mind as we kind of talk about this energy. So going back to Venus and Scorpio, it's like you may be asking like, how do I feel in this relationship? Is this relationship really right for me? And also extending beyond just relationships. It may not be relationships, but it's like your relationship to something, your relationship to job or work or whatever is coming up for you. Notice kind of what is bubbling up in your awareness during this time, right? You really are going to be thinking like, does this really feel right in my heart? Does this really feel right in my gut? Is there an equal exchange of energy? Am I valued? How do I feel with this particular person? Do I feel safe? Do I feel comfortable? Can I be my whole self? Or is this person kind of draining energy for me? Or is this particular friend group kind of draining, energy for me? Venus in Scorpio wants depth and quality. Can I trust you? Can I open my heart to you? There are relationships or other things ruled by Venus in your particular chart, because for all I know, Venus in your chart could, rule over, I don't know, family things, or it could rule over any other topics. But oftentimes it's going to be about relationships, with the solar eclipse being in Libra. So you're going to have a much more pronounced awareness of relationships that are valuable to you and that really feed you. during this time. Because Venus in Scorpio she's frank, she's very honest, and she's, you know, not, she's really not pulling any punches with this energy. So this eclipse is going to be square, meaning it's making like a 90-degree aspect to Mars, the planet of conflict, the gas in our tank and our batteries, action energy, uh, who is currently in Cancer. So this is interesting because this kind of gives this eclipse like this kind of active in your face kind of energy. An eclipse square Mars could, maybe prompt you to take action, to initiate something. And it's interesting because Mars in Cancer, like Venus in Scorpio, that is an unconventional placement where it actually is challenged a little bit more. So, on a very technical level, it is interesting that the eclipse is going to be ruled by a planet in detriment, and it is going to be making an aspect to a planet in its fall. On a technical level, it's like these planets express their energies in a more unconventional way, and it's not a typical expression of that energy. It doesn't make it any worse, but it definitely brings up specific things that are connected to a planet in fall or detriment. With this square to Mars, I would think that you may be prompted to take action or initiate something, but because it's in Cancer, it's almost like things that would bolster your own emotional security. Again, because there's a lot of gut feeling level. How does this make me feel? Do I feel safe? Especially with Mars and Cancer. Mars and Cancer is very concerned with its own emotional security, essentially. And because Cancer is a sign ruled by the moon, like this solar eclipse, again, to me, is really talking about paying attention to your feelings and intuition. It's like, so essentially what I'm saying here is that you may be driven to take action on something because specifically you might be feeling like, hey, the situation with this person like isn't really good anymore. I probably shouldn't talk to this person anymore. Or, hey, it might actually be time to do something about the situation that's just been kind of eating at me. Right. There's also a very heavy emphasis on communication as well, because Mercury, the planet of communication, mind, and messages, will be in the sign of Libra during this eclipse, very closely conjunct or like blending its energy with the sun and moon during this time as well. So, especially with Mercury in Libra, it's wanting to have a dialogue, it's wanting to have a conversation, it's wanting to work things out, it's wanting things to be very fair and balanced. So, if there's something that you're wanting to work through in a relationship or a particular kind of sticky situation, it's sort of like the uncomfortableness of that energy almost may drive you to be having like, some sort of conciliatory dialogue or, because Mercury in Libra is essentially kind of like the diplomat. So there is that energy to this eclipse where we are really talking it out, or we're writing about it, we're journaling about it, we're texting about it, we're emailing somebody about it. So again, really, really interesting energy. I'm really interested to see how this plays out. And let's go ahead and talk about what that might mean for your particular sign. Okay, so before we get into a little check-in reading for your sign, remember I always recommend listening for your rising sign. I think it's going to be more accurate because that's how astrologers actually do horoscopes. You can always blend your sun or moon with it if you want to, but I would pay attention to the rising. And you can also just check for the timestamp for your particular sign. And then click on it or fast forward the recording to find your particular sign so you don't have to listen to everybody else. So, and as always, I cannot see your individual chart. It's going to be much more accurate if I'm reading for you specifically. But this is I would take this as inspiration, essentially. So let's go ahead and share my screen. And if y'all are listening to this on the audio, on YouTube, you can see the actual kind of like wheel chart. So that's kind of interesting. Not super, super necessary, but it is kind of cool. So, okay, so Aries rising, you are up first. These eclipses for you, I think, have been a really big deal because these are falling in your first house of self and identity and body and your seventh house of relationships. So, I think that you've been having a lot of personal growth and possibly a lot of changes in your relationships, partnerships, business partnerships, contractual agreements. This is not just like this is not just romantic, although that can definitely be a really big part of it. This energy is a solar eclipse in your seventh house of partnership, because that's where Libra is for you. I would think about releasing like relationship patterns and dynamics that really don't serve you anymore, especially if you are someone that is overly conciliatory to people or a people pleaser, right? This eclipse is saying like let go of that stuff. In this eclipse, I think is specifically really about relationships for you. And so there could definitely be something new that comes in as a result of this. But first, there is like a cleansing or purging or clearing out, or some insight on how you can kind of navigate relationships better. But this can definitely point to, I think that this could potentially point to ending or letting go of some relationship, or in some cases, I do think this could also be a beginning as well of some partnership, of some connection of some sort. So I think for you, it is really going to be a lot about relationships. There could be a little dust up of energy in your fourth house of home and family, because this eclipse is square Mars. So you could be speaking your mind about something connected to home and family, perhaps like a little conflict there. I would definitely say stand up. There's something about maybe standing up for yourself, like regarding some sort of family dynamic, or perhaps there's just a lot of action going on with home, with residents at this time for you as well. For Taurus, this energy is falling in your sixth house. So perhaps you've been letting go, purging, shedding a lot of things connected to physical health with your body, working on physical health. Maybe there's been a lot of changes for you in your job since 2023, and changes in coworkers, changes in people who work for you, if that applies to you. And just simply a lot of kind of endings and beginnings in the work and health part of your chart. Also can rule pets as well. So I would definitely expect, more of that kind of ending kind of feeling. So if a particular like health practice is not serving you at this time, it might be time to like let it go. It could be about changes to diet or something related to that. It could involve like an ending or change involving work, or your relationships at work is definitely a possibility here. I do think that you've been getting more insight into your own psyche, into your mental and spiritual health, maybe seeking more kind of spiritual understanding with that North Node going through your 12th house. I think that maybe with this eclipse square Mars in your third house of communication and siblings, you could just be more sharper. You could be quite sharp tongued, at this time. Perhaps, you're having to forcefully communicate something at this time. Maybe you're really kind of, that also could be feeling kind of emotional for you, because that's Mars and Cancer in your third house of communication. So either way, there also could be, some sort of maybe, or perhaps there's some sort of conflict like involving a sibling at this time as well, because that same house, the third house, does rule over siblings. But either way, I feel like there's like a forceful communication, having to, stand up for yourself, or just sort of sharply sort of you know I don't know, like sharply communicate something. I feel like I'm just explaining this 7,000 different ways, but anyway, that is Taurus energy. So let me know if that makes sense for you. Gemini, I was editing this episode and realized I had completely skipped you. So, Gemini rising. Okay, what's going on for you? So, these eclipses, so the Libra and Aries eclipses since 2023 maybe have really put some emphasis on children, your creative endeavors, recreation, what you do for fun, on romance. Um, perhaps like letting go of some people pleasing behaviors connected to that, maybe feeling some endings and beginnings in that part of your chart. And then also maybe really connecting to the North Node of like beginnings and gains and new things has been in your 11th house. So asserting yourself in the realm of like friends, essentially, maybe new things with working with groups or networking or connecting to like social media. So these are like the two areas of life that these eclipses kind of spin up for you. So I'm thinking some kind of shedding, letting go, ending, perhaps connected to your children, to matters of pregnancy or childbirth. Perhaps there's like a creative endeavor that you're finishing or some sort of ending connected to that. Or perhaps it is connected to some kind of like romantic thing for you. I say ending, it could be beginning too. But remember, with this eclipse, we want to sort of emphasize the letting go and shedding portion of like anything, especially in our relationships. So anything connected to like romantic relationships, relationships with children that's not like serving us, or that's not filling our cup essentially, or that's not equal or balanced. There's some sort of ending and beginning happening in that fifth house energy of your chart. This energy, this eclipse is ruled by Venus moving through your sixth house right now. This could be a good time also to like bringing some beauty, bringing some balancing to our health, or things connected to our work and workflow as well, because Venus is moving through your sixth house of health and work. Lastly, this eclipse is squaring Mars in your second house of money. So, you know, control over your finances, like, I think is going to be a theme. Maybe not. It's a control and just activity in your earned income in your finances are going to be a theme over the next few months, because Mars is going to spend a lot of time in your second house. So whether it's you spending money, buying things, or going after more money, going after more income, bringing in another source of income, or concerns about your financial security are going to be some kind of theme that's going to be top of mind. I would continue to stress for you having a little money set aside, starting a little savings fund or like emergency fund, because with Mars going through your second house, you really never know sometimes when there's an extra expense that comes up. So I do want you to maybe just kind of look into that. And there may be something around money and finances. It doesn't have to be scary, right? But there is something about taking control, about thinking about your financial security, about maybe there is some sort of conflict that comes up with money that's maybe connected to a child. Because this eclipse in your fifth house squaring Mars in the second house of money, this could definitely be something that comes up for you. So let me know in the comments if that's resonating for you. Maybe come back a few days after the eclipse and let me know. So there you go, Gemini. Yep. Cancer rising. This eclipse for you is falling in your fourth house. So because Cancer and Capricorn are cardinal signs like Libra and Aries, I think that you've been particularly feeling these Libra and Aries eclipses. So for you, perhaps it's time to stop people pleasing with things connected to family. There might be releasing and letting go and purging or endings connected to family, or perhaps where you're living, your family of origin, something with your residence. Maybe a lot of changes kind of happening, have been happening in that part of your life since 2023. Also, in perhaps there's also been beginnings and new things, and also changes happening with your career, how your reputation, how you are seen by people, maybe things happening with authority figures as well, with that North Node moving through your 10th house since 2023 as well. So with this eclipse, I'm thinking, this feels like a good time to kind of declutter, frankly, to like it could be about your physical possessions in your home, getting rid of stuff. It could be deeper. It could be about relationships with family. There could be just changes with family in the home coming in for you with this, I cannot fucking talk today, with this eclipse. And again, think about, that kind of larger pattern that we have been kind of dealing with this Libra and Aries stuff. So releasing, purging, connected to home and family. Mars is in Cancer, and so that would be in your first house of self and body. Really, I think over the next few months, like really asserting yourself. Like this could be like Mars is going to be in Cancer really effectively until April, because it's going to go retrograde in December in the sign of Leo. So, I can see you right now maybe like saying like enough is enough when it comes to like some kind of family issue, perhaps. Perhaps you've just been feeling a little bit more warlike, or having to defend yourself, to some degree. Also, Mars moving through your first house as well. I would just be careful with physical body stuff. Don't push yourself too much, just because Mars can be inflammation of physical body. So, but I would really psychological, energetic level. I would think with Mars going through your sign, make sure that you are not stuffing down emotions. Make sure that you are not being passive aggressive. This is a time to really assert yourself. And I'm almost thinking like, if you stuff emotions down and let things boil inside you instead of just asserting yourself and saying it, it may manifest as like a physical symptom. So yeah, so I'm thinking changes in home, stuff coming up with family, and it's about I do feel like it's about you directly asserting yourself as well. Um, okay. So Leo rising. So this eclipse is happening for you in your third house. You've had the South Node going through the third house, the North Node going through the ninth house since 2023. These are interesting pair of houses for you with the third house. Third house is communication, the mind, and siblings, and also your immediate environment. So perhaps there have been a lot of changes involving siblings in your life, if you have any siblings. Perhaps like changes in your neighborhood, your immediate environment, your kind of mundane, kind of daily life. Even your commute, there could be a lot of things like involving travel for you since 2023 as well. This could also just be about the mind, communication, like learnings and learning things. Perhaps you've been really interested in spirituality and developing the higher mind. Uh, really connecting to really kind of embracing, some sort of new belief system or philosophy, and like really connecting to that because the North Node has been going through your ninth house. With this solar eclipse in Libra, you are shedding, purging, releasing something. Yeah, perhaps it's time to kind of finally get something off of your chest at this time. This could be a really good time for you to journal, to have some sort of important dialogue with someone and some important correspondence. There could be something significant happening in the life of a sibling. It may not even be directly about you. It could be about something going on with a sibling at this time as well. Either way, it's like with this South Node eclipse, that release, purging, making way for more peace. It's like I really feel like or perhaps there is something going on with family relationships for you because this eclipse is ruled by Venus and Scorpio in that fourth house. So, like, really paying attention to gut feelings with your relationships with family and or siblings is something I could see for you with this eclipse. But either way, it's like you are going to want to empty your head. It's like whatever thoughts and feelings are kind of bouncing around your head, they need somewhere to go with this eclipse. So I feel like there's some sort of important communication or correspondence. It is squaring Mars in the 12th house for you. So Mars can be action energy, but also inflammation and conflict. The 12th house is oftentimes what is hidden from view and kind of subconscious energy. So this might be time to, again, like if there's something kind of lurking in your subconscious energy, this might be time to actually say it. Or, again, have some kind of journaling practice where you are kind of, you know, interviewing or interrogating yourself. It's like, what is maybe bothering me under the surface? What anxiety am I feeling? What is it actually linked to? This would be a really good time for you to explore that or to simply kind of get that off of your chest. So I hope that makes sense for you, Leo rising. For Virgo rising, this eclipse possibly finances for you. So you've been having eclipses in your financial sector since 2023. There's maybe been more of a collaboration, more emphasis on shared resources or just changes in your shared resources, loans, investments, money that you share with a partner, retirement, taxes, things like that, inheritance, matters of mortality, that come with eighth house issues because that's where your north node, that's where the north node in Aries is for you. It's kind of embracing, like asserting yourself in those particular matters, and really kind of letting go of people pleasing behaviors, especially when it comes to your finances. So this solar eclipse in Libra, there's this ending, purging, letting go of something connected to money. Maybe it's figuring out what to do with old bank accounts. Maybe it's like changing your attitude toward your possessions and your money. There could be some kind of beginning here, as well, but usually there is, I feel like with a solar eclipse on the south node, there is kind of an ending or a purging. It is, again, it's something connected to finances for you. It also could be connected to like building skills or talents that help to support you financially that you can monetize. It could also be, things connected to, frankly, to your self worth as well. Like thoughts around like, am I getting paid enough for my worth? Essentially, there could just be events connected to finances, for you with this eclipse. Since this eclipse is square Mars in your 11th house, Mars in Cancer, it is possible that you're maybe having to assert yourself with a friend. There could be a conflict coming up with a friend. There also could simply just be more activity, more motivation, and more energy that is directed toward networking, that is directed to your friend groups in your friend circle, or perhaps like a friend sort of instigates something that is sort of connected to these financial houses for you. So we'll have to see how that plays out. For Libra, okay, the solar eclipse is in your sign. This is prime time, I think, for some healing, essentially. Again, for you, releasing, purging, endings, letting go of stuff. Whatever that means for you personally, I think that you've been on a very personal journey since 2023. A lot of changes in how you feel on the inside, letting go of people pleasing, hopefully changes in your relationships. Perhaps there has been embracing of independence, but also some new partnerships coming in, whether it's romantic, business, or platonic here. Perhaps you've been maybe feeling a little bit physically drained as well, with like with no explanation as to why. That's very much a south node going through your sign kind of thing. Perhaps maybe even changes in appearance and physical body. So this solar eclipse for you, I think, is very personal. It's you know, I just feel like you're going to be going through I think that you're going through some kind of spiritual purging with this, but that's going to make room for new opportunities and new things for you and really kind of having some brand new beginning and new start. So you may be thinking about like, new ways to present yourself to the world, new ways to express your unique identity, new ways to, what is the wording I am looking for? Like just new attitudes and approaches to life. I really feel like this is sort of like a new chapter for you. It's like it feels like a very transitional kind of, energy. So you'll have to let me know how you're feeling, Libra, in the comments. But it does feel like a very kind of personal ending and beginning for you. Just because when eclipses fall in your first and seventh house, it's kind of impossible to. There's generally some changes happening in your life. So hold on. Uh, there's one thing I want to mention about Venus. So this eclipse is ruled by Venus in Scorpio, and she's traveling through your second house. So there could be money stuff around this eclipse too, like how much am I worth? Thinking about worth and finances and money could also factor into this eclipse somehow. This eclipse is also square Mars, so I could see you really asserting yourself in career matters right now. There could be a lot of motivation, and energy, in career around your goals. Perhaps you might be butting heads with like an authority figure a little bit. But this eclipse, there is a dynamic energy connected to taking action essentially in your career that could be connected to this as well. Okay, so Scorpio rising. This eclipse is happening in your 12th house. So this is a very hidden house. This is about anything that that you're not consciously aware of. Has a lot of ties to like mental and spiritual health, themes about retreat and rest and isolation. This, I'm going to say, you're going to be having a lot of really private insights, perhaps insights into your relationships, how your relationships may or may not serve you, insights into your spiritual health. If you're having a lot of spiritual understandings as of late with any kind of with these Aries and Libra kind of lunations, you may want a little bit of alone time with this eclipse as well. But I would say this is very kind of spiritually regenerative energy. And I would also say get rid of stuff that isn't serving you at this time. And again, I think you're gonna have a lot of insights into relationships because it is ruled by Venus going through your sign right now. So like, this is time to kind of, be active and engage with the world. Maybe when this eclipse energy is done, you'll feel a little bit more social. But I think that you'll be aware of like what relationships are actually you're really connecting to and which ones you can kind of like let go by the wayside, frankly. So since 2023, perhaps you've been having some changes within your health and with your work as well, and like a lot of focus and emphasis on that, a more independence in that area. Because you've had that North Node in Aries moving through that sixth house since 2023. This eclipse also is going to be square Mars in your ninth house. You could really be defending your beliefs. You could be very forcefully advocating for your own political beliefs, your spirituality, and really feeling some kind of passion about that. There's going to be some sort of storyline coming up in the next few months about this area of your chart, which has to do with teaching, higher education, spirituality, travel, kind of this, kind of experiencing kind of this broader kind of mindset sort of energy, but things connected to education, spirituality, and travel really factor in here. So you may be spending a lot of time doing that. But I see this eclipse for you as sort of like you're going to be really like the truer you are to your own core beliefs, the better kind of energy you're going to have with this eclipse, if that makes sense. I'm not sure that makes sense, but that's the way I'm wording it. My brain is like 75% today. So, Sagittarius rising. North and South Node North Node has been, so the Aries part of your chart is the fifth house where the North Node is right now, which is beginnings. So maybe you've had some change. Maybe you kind of woken up to your creativity, passions, things that make you happy, things related to children and to romance. So perhaps these areas of life have gotten some stimulation with these eclipses in Libra and Aries since 2023. The focus of this eclipse, though, may be letting go of something connected to friends, because the solar eclipse in Libra is in your 11th house of friends, people who help you, like networking, groups that you're a part of. There's kind of when I was this is for me is a quality over quantity thing here. The quality of your friendships, you could be thinking about like, do these relationships like is this like a mutual thing, or is only one person really benefiting from this? Are they draining to you somehow? Perhaps there could be some new opportunity regarding networking or regarding a friend, or an opportunity coming from a friend here. But there is this emptying out feeling that I am getting from this eclipse in your 11th house. Also, the 11th house has to do with your hopes, wishes, and goals for the future. So you could be thinking like, what am I really focused? Like, what thing that I'm really trying to manifest is actually lighting me up right now? Like, what passions am I connected to versus like, am I just saying the same affirmation over and over and over, not really meaning it? Because this eclipse is ruled by Venus and Scorpio, now traveling through your hidden 12th house, this this eclipse will come with some private insights. So I would spend a little time alone if you can. Having like a little meditation time during the eclipse might be a really good thing for you. So you can kind of access wisdom that's going to be coming into you through like hidden or kind of quiet ways, like through meditation, through journaling, through a little alone time, through something like that. This eclipse is also directly square Mars in your eighth house. There could be something around like there could be like maybe like a little dust up or having to assert yourself or maybe some conflict over shared resources. Perhaps I am thinking so finances, so shared resources, insurance, loans, investments, inheritance, things like that, credit cards. There's going to be some sort of story there over the next few months. So kind of pay attention with what is happening with this eclipse. But it's sort of like, you know, those kinds of finances and those kinds of shared resources, there's a lot of action around that over the next couple months. And this eclipse is directly square it. So there could be part of your eclipse storyline could be just involving eighth house stuff. So eighth house money could be definitely a part of this eclipse. For Capricorn, this solar eclipse is happening in your 10th house of career. Capricorn, you are a cardinal sign like Libra, like Aries and Cancer. So you're really kind of tied to these eclipses as well. So the North Node, so maybe you've had a lot of changes in family and home. Maybe you've moved, changes to residence or changes with family of origin or with your parents since 2023, or there's been some kind of focus on that. Maybe there's been like a pull to that area, maybe establishing some independence within the family, establishing some independence within these kind of home and family matters, or to assert yourself in these home and family matters. However, the focus with this eclipse is going to be on your 10th house of career. So this could be, a purging, a shedding, a letting go of something, maybe some goal that you've had with career. Perhaps there is some ending in career. Perhaps like a boss is going to go bye-bye, or maybe you're having some transitions in your career. There can be a beginning with this as well. So maybe if one door is closing, there will be another one that opens. I'm gonna say like maybe you've been releasing some general people pleasing behaviors or overly conciliatory kind of energy within career space because again the South Node has been in Libra traveling through your 10th house. So maybe that's kind of where that activity has sort of been for you. There could be an important conversation regarding like career because Mercury is, the planet of communication and mind and messages is going to be very connected to this energy as well. There could be you having perhaps you're um this eclipse is square Mars in your 7th house of partnership. So this feels very like there's an energy involving other people. So whether we are having an outright conflict with someone, perhaps in our career space, perhaps in our personal life, that could definitely be part of it. Perhaps we are motivated to take action alongside someone else because like Mars is that planet of action energy but also conflict, and it's in your 7th house of partnerships right now. So if you are someone who is kind of quiet and like doesn't really, just kind of wants to keep the peace, this eclipse is kind of saying don't do that, you know? Because I this eclipse is saying don't do that. And also partnership is something that you're going to be dealing with over the next few months. So maybe you're taking a lot of action regarding partnership. Maybe you're taking things to the next step. It's likely that part of your chart is going to be a little bit bumpy with some challenges to kind of work through. It doesn't have to be a super huge deal, but that definitely will be kind of an unfolding storyline. Also, the last thing I want to mention to you as far as career, look out for people like friends that could help you because this eclipse is ruled by Venus. And Venus is in Scorpio right now, and she's moving through your 11th house of friends, of networking, groups that you belong to. So keep an eye out for opportunities or people that could help you in that part of your life, essentially. And keep an eye out for people. It may not be like a you scratch my back, I'll scratch your situation. This could be from like a ride or die kind of friend, essentially, or like themes around like who is actually my friend, who is actually my ally and who is kind of like a fake bitch, essentially. So, anywho, okay. Aquarius. Okay. So, like your sister sign, like your opposite sign, Leo, there's been a focus on the 3rd and 9th houses of your chart. So, for you, this eclipse could really have you focused on your belief system, your philosophy, spirituality, maybe themes involving travel or even learning something new or education. Perhaps, and again, it's sort of this eclipse, I do think is connected to a purging or a letting go. So perhaps you're letting go of some belief. Perhaps you are, completing some kind of program that you've been a part of or some sort of class or something. Or perhaps there have been some, perhaps there, again, these life areas that I am talking about, there has been some sort of emphasis on these since 2023. So with this eclipse, there could be, again, there's like an ending and a beginning to sort of one of these particular life areas. This could also be connected to career for you as well, because this eclipse is ruled by Venus and Scorpio. This might be a time for you that you could be, shining at work a little bit, that, this could be a time of like attracting some attention, maybe like probably positive attention from like an authority figure, or this could be a good time to like promote yourself. This eclipse could be speaking to perhaps some kind of communication or publishing endeavor as well, because ninth house could be broadcasting and publishing. So these are some areas that we could be having some beginnings and endings in: education, travel, anything concerning your belief system, spirituality. And lastly, this eclipse is squaring Mars in Cancer, going through your sixth house of work and health. It's possible that this could sort of instigate like, hey, I need to pay attention to health, or I need to, or perhaps there's just maybe more of like a workload. Are you having to sort of deal with something at work during this? Perhaps you're just feeling like very motivated in these areas. Mars can also be conflict and inflammation, so it could be some sort of dust up with like work or health matters, or just like a need to pay attention to it. So that could certainly be something that kind of pops up with this eclipse for you. Pisces, this eclipse is falling in your eighth house. So interesting. Okay, so the North and South Node have been moving through your financial houses since 2023. Perhaps you've been having more of a more leaning into your independence or asserting yourself in the area of earned income, like paychecks, how you make your money, that kind of thing. And maybe you have been having changes in these areas of shared finances and your earned income since 2023. This eclipse, there's a letting go, but also something new potentially going on with shared finances and resources. So think loans, investments, insurance, credit cards, also things involving like family money, inheritance, that kind of thing, possibly for you as well. You do have Jupiter moving through that planet of expansion and opportunity, moving through your home and family sector. So there could be something with like other people's resources that is connected to home. But there's, this could be a good time to think about like, hey, is this retirement account serving me? Like, or is this kind of bullshit? Are they making more money than I am? And maybe like switching brokers or something. Or thinking, hey, is this financial arrangement that I have with this person really serving me too? Is it balanced? Is it fair? Is it equal? Because shared finances is child support, it's financial aid, it's alimony, it's, our shared bills and expenses. It's kind of where we pool our energy and money together. So kind of untangling that a little bit and thinking about, hey, are these arrangements serving me? You might find something better after this eclipse. Also, this eclipse is square Mars in the fifth. There could be some kind of conflict involving a child, perhaps. Because Mars is going to be in your fifth house of children, of romance, of creativity, and recreation until about April, essentially, because it's going to go retrograde in December. There's an emphasis on like, either taking action or motivation or a lot of energy connected to these things. It could be that you're like, I really want to work on these art projects, like, but they're kind of pissing me off a little bit. That's kind of Mars, they're kind of frustrating me. Or my child just being a little bit more unruly as of late. Or perhaps there's a spark and there's some heat involving romance for you. Perhaps maybe it's not like the smoothest of roads. There's something to perhaps to take action on or initiate involving those life areas with this eclipse for you as well. So I think that is it. Let me go ahead and stop sharing. Okay. So that is it. I hope that made sense. I feel like I rambled a little bit today, but I don't know. I even wrote a bunch of notes for this. So if you enjoyed this, make sure that you leave a comment and let me know. Let me know maybe what's going on for you, for your sign, and maybe how it resonated for you. Maybe check back a couple of days after the eclipse. Like, hey, here's my eclipse story. Here's what happened. I'd love to hear. Make sure you're following me on Instagram or TikTok under Dogstar Oracle. Again, visit my website for dogstar.oracle.com, and I will see y'all next week with next week's forecast. Until then, be well, and I hope the eclipse treats you kindly.